You should also just visit it. Has everybody here been to the Metropolitan Museum?
I've only been once.
Oh my God. So the thing about the Metropolitan Museum is all these museums are great because of their public places, public spaces, right? I mean, the Met is gorgeous just from here. Part of the Metropolitan Museum, it has, when you go in on the, I think on the right side, come on. There's this, I guess, I don't even know where it's from. It's from Egypt, I guess, the Temple of Dendur.
Egypt, yeah.
Yeah, and the whole, and this is like a room you walk into, right?
Yeah, and with the view of Central Park.
I have like the Metropolitan recently released a lot of their material online, all their
well, that's the link. Yeah, has part of the link is that.
Yeah, and they have a whole article about reconstructing the color scheme of this temple.
Right. So I mean, this is part of the museum experience. When I always, I'm a big museum advocate to my children who ignore me. To me, the museum is not just a place to see beautiful things, but it's to be in a beautiful space, right? It's a great place to, it's just a great place to be with friends or, people you like, because you're just seeing really amazing things. It's just cool. Yeah. And like this place here, it's just like, how? Just the idea that we live in a culture where this is possible, where they completely supplant something from another place and just put it here. And as you pointed out, it's got this view of Central Park, so it's very much in New York, right? So just the whole thing it's such an interesting experience. Mm-hmm. So that's the great thing about going to museums. The Met has a number of those spaces. There's the American Wing, which I don't even think is that nice, but it's cool. And they have like a Japanese garden in the Metropolitan. Have you ever gotten that lost in the Metropolitan Museum that you get to the Japanese garden?
Yeah, but then we backtracked.
Right.
We're like, we have no idea where we are.
So it's right. That's when you start to really have fun in museums, when you go to place, you get lost and you find yourself in a room that nobody's been to for like 15 years, right? And there's some really cool furniture there. You get to look at it. Right. Anyway, so that's part of the museum experience. So let's go back to our dashboard here. Is that where I'm here?
Experiencing the Metropolitan Museum through the mixed up files of Mrs. Battley Frankweiler count?
No, but I don't think it does. But it's an interesting association. So the Met we put there, and maybe you'll find the paintings. I have not been to the Uffizi Gallery in a very, very long time, years and years and years. Has anybody been there? Florence?
I was there last year.
Right, yeah. Awesome, beautiful, right?
I was there ages ago.
Never made it to Florence.
Yeah, I went with a school trip. I went in a school trip when I used to study in Switzerland.
Right. Yeah, Israelis go to the Kinneret. You're not going to, So yeah, so I haven't been there in a long time. I found this morning while I was searching around, there was I think a very early 14th or 13th century German Adam and Eve painting. I was going to do just Adam and Eve paintings, and I thought we would loosen things up. But anyway, I found myself at the Uffizi Gallery, and I said, well, why not? And then finally, the National Gallery in London, which has an amazing interface. If somebody can really figure out how to use it, it's really like they did it in conjunction with Google, and you can really feel like you're walking around the place. It's like a video
That's where the ambassador is, right? The painting.
Oh, well, I wonder if it's there. So it's like a video game for nerds, right? You get to walk through a museum, right? So I wanted to just, I picked my painting already. Because what I would want to do is I picked a big biblical theme because one of the things I'm interested in is I'm thinking of paintings as a Miltonist. And I was thinking, well, what paintings were painted at about the same time as Milton? What music was being played at the same time as Milton? The conductor of the Berlin Philharmonic, the current one, he talks about his conducting, and he says before he conducts a piece, he reads the writing of the period and looks at the art of the period. I found that so interesting, right? That he really wants to get a sense of the culture in which his musicians were functioning. So Rembrandt and Milton seem so close to me for so many reasons. One of which is really like the sensibility of Milton, of Book 5, where we see spirit and body kind of interacting one with another. Here's the Rembrandt that I always think of in that case. Jacob, you saw that. Sorry. I bet a lot of you have seen this painting already. No, where is it? Oh, Jacob and the Angel, sorry. Here we go. You see it? You see Jacob embracing the angel?
Yeah, we can see it.
Yeah. What a painting, right? We can let this be my painting.
Who is this by?
Rembrandt.
Oh.
I mean, very often people, because our generation is so impaired in its understanding of everything, but especially poetry and art, we forget the extent to which painting is always a representation. Portraits even are representations. That we're not just interested in the picture of my uncle on the wall, but with great art, we're interested in the ways in which artists represent their subjects. In some cases, the representation of the subject can be judged by the person who commissioned the painting. Right? I commissioned a painting of a portrait of myself, and I can see the extent to which that representation captures some part of me, or at least I know the difference between the representation and the thing being represented. But many people today don't really look at art as a representation. It's not that they look at it literally, but they fail to see the way in which an artist chooses a subject and then represents it in a certain light. One of the things that I really get a kick out of when I go to museums, and my family or whoever is accompanying me hates me for it, is I like to look at Madonna and Childs from the Italian Renaissance. And you know these paintings?
Yeah, I love them.
There are jillions of them, right? Right? You see them? And you're just like, so on the one hand, which I did for my entire childhood and adolescence, or most of my adulthood, I would just run through these exhibits. But then when you think of it and you think, okay, these people, these artists are living in a Christian age. They're not going to paint an Andy Warhol, Mick Jagger. They're limited to what they're able to paint. And in order to get commissions, in order to work, in order to paint and get money, they painted Madonna and Child. So what do? They used that particular genre to express themselves. And it's amazing when you see all of these paintings up here, just the Google images, you see the extent to which they're all so radically different. And because that's the only genre that's available, we might even be able to say that artists are taking the genre for themselves and maybe commenting in ways on Christianity that some of their viewers won't even understand. That is, we don't have to look at every one of these paintings, even though it's of an Orthodox subject. We don't have to look at any one of these paintings as expressing Orthodox ideas. Get what I'm saying by that? What?
Could you be more specific and give us an example, a concrete example?
Look at can you see the paintings of the Madonnas and Childs that I have here?
Yes.
Oh, what's an example? Look at, what is this one about? What's going on here? I don't know how to read the paintings yet, but I see that the painting requires to be read. This painting needs to be read. It is a very clear text. And you see the extent to which it's a text by seeing maybe, I don't know, I was going to say, let's look for a standard one, but there are no standard ones. They're all distinctive.
I wonder how much how close the baby is correlates to how, the relationship of that era to the body. Okay, so there are all those questions. Look at little Jesus over here. He's already wearing like an angel's thing over there, right? They're all, we haven't even begun
to read these paintings. We don't know what the iconology of these paintings are. Meaning, but I'm just pointing out by this example, the extent to which we think that paintings are that they're already legible to us. We already see them, we already know what they are. Until you see all of them, you have no idea what they are. You have to learn that. One of the things with paintings is learn to see them as representations. It's not trying to get the thing itself. The thing itself is a reference point. And here the thing itself is just, textual. It's part of the Christian Bible. I was instructed today in my meeting between a baron, a lord, and a priest that you do not say Old Testament and New Testament, but you say Christian Bible and Hebrew Bible. That's good, right? It's a nice compromise.
When I was in Venice,
yeah,
I've never been that excited about Christian iconography either. But when I was in Venice and I saw these amazing pictures, and for instance, there was the killing of the innocents when Herod is looking for Jesus, he goes and massacres all these babies. And you would think, why would somebody want to paint that? It's this huge mural. And then you read about the wars that Venice was involved in, and you suddenly realize all of these paintings are expression of their very human experience through the stories of the Christian Bible.
And that's so.
And
That's
it was
what
so
that's
clearly suddenly.
When you were there. That's one of the things. Art history, when it grew up as a discipline, was highly formalistic, meaning let's evaluate the paint strokes. Let's look at the colors. Let's think of the form of it. But what Alana's saying, art history has changed now. You need to know often with painters, or it will certainly help you when you know about painters, where they lived, who they lived among. You can see much more clearly what the painting is doing, by which I mean is that painters use certain kind of signs or icons, and the way they use them will depend upon the historical context in which they live. If you go to museums and you see portraits of, I think we might have even talked about this, we did with Il Penseroso, how does a dog figure in Renaissance or 18th century painting? Why would an artist put a dog in a picture? And it turns out there are many, many reasons. Is the dog sleeping? Is the dog sitting? Is the dog acting wild? What's its relationship to other people in the field of vision? That the artist is often not just putting the dog there because it's pretty, but because it signifies. It does something in relationship to the painting. So I was thinking that as you go through whatever museum you decide to go through, find a painting. I would love it if it were from our period, from the 17th century, certainly from the Renaissance or 17th century. I like this painting because it's very clear that it's a representation. It's Rembrandt's representation of something. What is it Rembrandt's representation of? And I'm asking you to be very prosaic here, because sometimes being prosaic really helps. This I learned very recently from a friend of mine. Do not be afraid to be prosaic. You sometimes think, oh, I'm being prosaic and I'm asking a dumb question. It's good to give the answer to the dumb question, because often you clarify it as you're answering it. And even if not, it's good just to have it expressed. So what's the story here that's being represented?
The struggle.
The struggle that's represented in Genesis?
Yeah, it's Jacob's dream when he gets the name Israel. Because he struggled with the angel.
Oh my God. And so somebody just tell me here, Tikva, you're on. Give me the Jewish Day School version, the very short version. Tikva didn't hear me.
On the way back to Eretz Israel, Jacob's afraid to meet his brother Esau because he thinks that Esau's going to be jealous because he stole the birthright, and he's very agitated and scared, and he goes to sleep and he dreams a dream about an angel who comes to him, and they struggle and they
wait. I think we have a disagreement. Yes,
Tikva? It's unclear whether or not it's a dream. And in the canon, it's not an angel. It's only said to describe as an angel later in Malachi. In
So
the
in
story itself in Genesis.
Oh, okay, right. So those are
man.
two very important points. One is it's definitely not described explicitly as a dream. That may be a rabbinic accretion. And the other thing, what was the other thing you just said, Tikva?
That it's not
Oh,
necessarily.
wait, right. It's the sar. It's the sar of Esav, right? I don't know how you would translate that.
I did not say that. I said that it's.
No, I understand that, but I think that's
Okay.
what the psukim say. Am I wrong about this? That it's the
Yeah,
sar of
that's
Esav.
not in.
That's not in Tanakh.
Sar is like Lord.
That's
Sar is Lord.
pure midrash.
So how is he described?
I'm in a class. My sister says hi. So so it's described as Jacob is moving his entire family over a river, and he goes back because he's left something behind on the other side of the river, and
Yeah, we
there's
got
a man
that. Okay,
there,
yeah.
and they wrestle.
I'm just asking what is he described? He's described as a man?
He's described as a man. V'ya'avek ishito adalot hashachar.
Oh, cool, right? Okay, so let's go back to Rembrandt.
It's just man.
Okay, so and he goes back and he wrestles with him, and they have this whole conversation, and by the end of the conversation, Jacob says,
"Bless me."
And he says, like, then what happens?
And the angel says, "I have to go," and Jacob says, "Bless me," and the angel and the man says, Your name is not Jacob, your name is Israel, because you have fought with man and with God, and you can."
Wow. Now look at this painting. What is up with this painting?
Yeah, that doesn't.
Wait. Okay, good. Thank you for that. Was excellent. I want to let everybody pause for a second and just look at this painting from the point of view of the narrative that Tikva just read for us. Oh my God, right?
It looks really gentle to be wrestling.
Or it would seem that it's the end when he's not wrestling anymore, when the angel is blessing him. Huh? That does not seem like a fight. I think it seems at the end, like it's the end when the. Just look also at the face of the angel. And also at the position that Jacob has. I wouldn't say that it's in the middle of the story. I would say it's in the end.
But they're not even looking at each other, are they?
Do me a favor. I need you to take me into this painting. You got to get into this painting. See the world of this painting, the psychological world that's being represented. I know I asked you to see it through the lens of the story, and we'll come back to that. But like,
it is dreamy.
I'm kind of saying, in a way, to me. Well, you keep on going. I have plenty of thoughts. You keep on going.
It looks like Jacob's kind of being like his head is almost being cradled by the angel.
Yeah. My sister gave her 2 cents and said that it looks like they're cuddling.
It's like a mother.
Would she like to sit in on the class? That was an excellent comment. Jacob and the angel, or Jacob and the man are cuddling.
Is it like the Madonna with child?
So it looks like
I never thought of that, right?
The angel is embracing him. They're not. Look at the knee. She's
holding him.
The angel is holding him. The knee
he looks,
and the arm.
He looks paralyzed to me.
It's like
Jacob
receiving.
No, I don't think he's sleeping.
No, he's like, his eyes are open. He's like paralyzed.
I just see his eyes. To me, it looks like he's in ecstasy.
Paralyzed.
It has to be that it's during the blessing of the angel. It has to be.
I think. No, it might be when she gets him by the.
Wait, say
right?
She.
It looks like my grandma, my Dutch grandmother. I'm sorry, Grandma, but call a spade a spade.
Wait. So Oh, yeah.
Rembrandt was Dutch.
Why did you say she?
Well, both because of the Madonna factor, kind of, sort of. And indeed, my grandmother's Dutch, like Rembrandt, and so I think it's some common phenotypes going on there.
It's like a maternal embrace. Huh?
Is that what everybody else thinks? Maternal embrace? I can't see you all.
Homoerotic.
It's homoerotic.
Yes.
Could be.
I'm even a step before that, Alana. I just think it's extremely sexual.
Yeah, you know how the shoulder thing?
Whatever it is, homoerotic or
that also tells me
heteroerotic.
Yeah,
because I was still on the feminine. I want to still stay on the feminine. It is a feminine image. It's a highly feminized
Yes, it looks
image.
like a woman. Yeah.
It depends. I mean, we started back at the painting. You hear the title, and you're like, onward. Let's move on. But this painting just draws you into its passionate center, right? What about the angel's wings? Why are they painted the way that they're painted?
Yeah, that
like
was something
mountains.
I was thinking about.
They're kind of
they're
faded.
also hidden.
Why would Rembrandt do that?
They're blending into the background.
Why would Rembrandt do that?
Well, if the angel had to come down to earth to fight with, or come to wherever, the physical plane, or however they want to describe it, then the angel part of him would be muted, especially since in Genesis he's referred to as a man, as opposed to an angel.
I mean, so Rinat's perspective, the angel part of him would be muted. Okay.
Yeah, you can imagine the wings as mountains, and then they disappear as wings,
wow.
And now it looks all the more like
So it's the blending
Miriam.
of the spiritual into the physical.
What's that, Zavid?
The spiritual is blending into the physical world. The wings are blending into the background, and it looks like mountains and dirt and earth.
And what about but sometimes it looks like it's actually a sacred scene. It's both this extremely sensual scene in the mountains, and if you see it like that, it's, I don't know. I see just an intensity in the man. I said ecstasy before, but once you see the wings that takes you, it's like, what is this? This is a painting of a sacred subject or a secular subject.
It's the lighting that makes it look sacred, because the lighting of the angel isn't coming from anywhere. It's kind of like within the angel, because if the lighting was coming from behind him to her, his face would be illuminated also.
That's
but
cool.
It's not. And so the light fall on the angel without falling on him. So she's illuminated, he is illuminated from within.
I see that as making her more erotically charged. I see what you're saying. I see it goes both ways. What I'm really just asking is, why would Rembrandt do this?
Well, the light is something always very, very important in all of his paintings.
Okay, good. But now I'm asking why. Why does he do this? Why does the physical blend into the spiritual? Why does the spiritual blend into the physical? You see, I mean, you see why I said Book 5 of Paradise Lost, right? Where you see the same kind of continuum. This is a version of Donne's canonization. It's the sacred and the secular at the same time. And again, we haven't even gotten into like what exactly, if they are brothers, then what's going on here? I mean, if they're brothers, then we have to maybe pull off a little bit of the very explicit eroticism and think more about, well, what is the relationship between Jacob and his brother? I assume that Rembrandt knew that the angel was Esau, right? So if that's the context, then we're moving out of secular, sacred to, well, do they hate each other or do they love each other?
But wait, Rembrandt was Protestant?
I don't know anything. I have this book here called Reading Rembrandt. Guess what I haven't done? I haven't read it. I assume he's a Dutch Protestant, yes.
Yeah. Rembrandt was Protestant.
You just see, we just opened this painting up, right? Might have been saying we passed by and said, oh, that's really beautiful. That's really beautiful. But what's that? What, Dvora?
Is that ironic that he's a Protestant painter?
I don't know enough. I don't know about enough about Dutch Protestants. The greatest painting of the Northern Renaissance is Dutch. Oh, it's the best painting in the Northern Renaissance. Always go to, that's the first museum room in the museum to go to, in my opinion. Northern Renaissance Dutch painting.
But Amsterdam became the capital of European Jewry, right?
Right, and Rembrandt lived not far from Spinoza.
And Rembrandt used to
And Spinoza, this is almost Spinozan painting, in a way, because I told you, Spinoza also is that mix of body and soul. But I also don't want to give away the psychological dynamic between the two brothers. Again, what is their relationship, and we didn't even account for any of the Genesis narrative. How does this, if it does at all, how does it fit into the Genesis narrative?
Well, I mean, if we're talking about the brothers, the idea of, the fact that the angel is golden and white, and Jacob is tan with curly hair, and even though Jacob is the chosen brother, it is Esau's representation here that is idealized.
I think, I think so. Also, I think in some ways Rembrandt, I'll show you just one more picture that I love. I'm cheating now. That Rembrandt, he does stuff like this kind of often, as he takes pictures out of their narrative context. So here, this is a student of his, a Mace, M-A-E-S. This is the story of Abraham throwing Hagar and Ishmael out of the house.
Can you make it bigger, brighter? It's hard to see.
It's hard to see. Is it hard to see? It's a hard one.
Can I say something about the other picture?
Can you see it a little? Yeah, go ahead.
The story of Esau and Jacob is a great story of redemption, because he's so frightened of coming back because how he betrayed his brother, and his brother forgives him, so he finds that it's a redemptive story.
Okay, so that's nice. That's a nice reading. I would just want to look at this painting of Abraham. If you looked at this painting, would you have guessed this was the subject?
No.
Right? So Rembrandt has this way of taking these sacred stories and putting them, in the Jacob and Ace and the angel one, it's almost like taking it out of the narrative altogether. We just have this close-up of them. And here, the sacred narrative is set in contemporary Amsterdam, the way they're dressing. Why is he doing that? It's so interesting to think about. I don't want to read the painting now, because this was going to be my painting, but we used the other one instead. So I want you in a half hour to choose a museum. They're on our dashboard. And where are we? Sorry.
Can you send us a link to the dashboard?
Where you can see it, I think. Oh, I have to send you a link though, right?
Yeah, but we can.
Right. Chat. Okay, so. This is called Padlet. Has anybody ever used Padlet before?
Yeah, Dr. Shupaki uses it every day.
Unless she knows how to use technology.
Devora, is it like Pinterest?
Unlike some people I know. But I just said chat and there's no chat.
Yeah, it says my chat's disabled. I don't know why.
Yeah.
You could email it to us.
I'll email it to you. Okay. So there are 4 museums. You saw them. Choose one. We'll go for a half hour, and then afterwards you can post on this Padlet thing. Meaning, so choose your painting and then put it on the Padlet. And then people who want to, to talk about why they chose it, this is your time to have fun in a museum.
Has to be a painting?
Does it have to be?
In the context of Milton?
I think I would like it to be a painting that you can think about in the terms that we just spoke about. To think about painting as representation, and then just to talk about why you chose it. Okay? Have fun. I'll send you the email, okay?
When we get back, do we go back to talking about Milton?
See, I will stay up all night with you, tonight if you want to do book 5 and book 6 of Paradise Lost. Do me a favor, do me a favor. Can you take our current assignment seriously? I want you to choose a good painting. Okay?
Is it possible to do a sculpture?
I think the Tikva rule is it's possible to do a sculpture.
You have a
So
rule
we
named
have to
after
choose
him?
a painting and representation, and what
Yeah,
was
see,
what was
yeah,
supposed to
exactly.
be?
I see. So I want to put it in terms that seem academic and scholarly enough for you. I want you to look at a painting in the way that we've been thinking about Miltonic representation, meaning we've been seeing the story that Milton is we've been describing Miltonic poetry as midrash, because his poetry is both poetry and commentary. And through that, we've become acutely aware of the way in which poetry, or Milton is acutely aware of the process of representation, how difficult it is for a poet, and how difficult it is, as Milton represents him, for him to read properly. So we've been very interested in this whole idea of what it means to represent something. That's why I thought of 17th century painting, and especially Rembrandt for me, because you see the extent to which painting is also a form of representation. And I'd like you just to be able to focus on really a painting. You don't need my fancy language. A painting as a painting that's doing something, that's communicating. So that's what I'd like you to do.